Hello and welcome back to the Alizee Yeezy show. I'm your host, Alizee Yeezy, and today I am joined by singer-songwriter Ellie Grace. Hello.
Hiya.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You're very happy to be here. Thrilled, I expect.
I'm so excited. I'm running on pure adrenaline.
It's like, what's the phrase? High octane. It's like a thriller around here. It's like a movie set. So maybe we should explain how we know each other, because we do know each other.
We do. Yeah. Back in the day, before you lived the lavish lifestyle you now live.
It was the dark period.
It
The
was.
dark times.
It truly was. No, I was a student. I don't even know what year that would have been. Maybe 2015? No. 2015? 16?
Pre-Brexit, because when Brexit happened, I was working at a pub.
Okay.
So it was before that. It was before like actual, like 40-hour-a-week jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we like got involved with real life. Yeah, and we were just doing like promoing.
Yeah, like street flyering. So people that
Yeah.
stand outside of event, like what's it called? Like the Olympia Hall in Kensington, for example. I probably just made that up. Probably not even a thing. But you just stand outside of like these events and you give people flyers. We had to do that.
Yeah. Or usually it wasn't even as glamorous as that. It was like just outside tube stations.
Hammersmith. See, I was almost right. Yeah, I forgot that. Outside tube stations having to...
Yeah.
And the best thing about that is you'd meet such a variety of people.
Yeah.
Because I met like actors. And so not like actual actors who are on TV, but people who were
Yeah.
wanting to be actors. And
That's
I was
it.
like...
Because everyone, it was like a side hustle, wasn't it? For people that were doing like usually creative stuff that wasn't, they just needed a bit of extra money, I guess. But yeah, so we met doing that.
For you, it was like the creative stuff. For me, it was I didn't want to go back into working into a pub. And then after that, I got involved in 2 sales cults. And then I ended up going back into a pub to make my money back.
There you go, full circle.
Full circle. Shit, absolute shit. So during that time, you were at uni, weren't you?
I was, yeah. So I was at a music school in Kilburn called the ICMP, which stands for Institute of Contemporary Music Performance.
Very nice.
Yeah. And I was doing my degree in songwriting. And it was a great time. It was a fun 3 years. And not got loads to show for it now. But, we enjoyed it while we were there. So,
I feel like that's so
Yeah.
cool, though, going to university to do songwriting.
Uh-huh.
And since then, where are you at now? Like, bearing in mind we've had, I don't know, 300 lockdowns.
yeah, I mean, it's been so up and down. I've just kind of been trying to be in the studio as much as I can. I've released a couple of songs this year. I've got a few more just like on the back burner for when the time feels right. But it's kind of hard right now because it's like you release something and then it's just out and then you don't really do much like with it. Because just before lockdown happened, I just like signed up for an agency and I was going to be like out playing more and all this stuff. And then obviously everything just like slowly was getting cancelled and yeah, so a load of stuff just fell out bed. I think a third of musicians are still out of work since the lockdowns and stuff. So I played my first gig like a week or 2 ago.
How'd it go?
Yeah, it was good. It was just so weird. Like the first half I was playing to an empty room and then it filled up. But at first I was like, oh no, is this what it's like now? Like, But yeah, no, it was good. It's good to get back out there. But yeah, so just keeping at it.
It's a little bit like that at the moment I think with all the performing arts, like comedy. And I mean, I've not even been to a stand-up gig in like just a view, in Christ, years. But a few weeks ago, I went and saw a musician I really like. Her name's Rudy Edwards. And even then, like it filled up.
Yeah.
But I think people are just at the moment like really apprehensive to be going back out.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think we'll just have to see how it goes. I'm feeling positive about it though.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. It's just a weird time, isn't it? We still just don't know what's around the corner, but that's why I've been focusing more on the like recording side, and that's kind of my favorite bit. I've realised, like being in the studio. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I think so. Just like getting to put all my, because I write on my own, but then I have a producer that I work with that I'll take a finished song to, or sometimes with like, some production ideas or whatever, and then we'll work on it together. And that's like my favourite part of the process, is when we're like getting someone's like musical brain involved in something that I've still kind of only got like a rough concept of. So yeah, just been trying to do as much of that as possible.
So like with your creative process, I'm not really sure where to start, because like the university thing is really interesting to me. Like being taught, are you taught things like musical theory? Are you taught how to construct like because I imagine it's like comedy, and there's ways to construct jokes, like storytelling. There's ways to construct stories.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. Like, what was it like being at uni, basically, for songwriting?
Yeah, so it's such a difficult one because it's kind of almost one of those things you can't teach, right? But because it's so subjective and everyone likes something different. There's no like one set way to do it. So it wasn't like, okay, sit down, take your pen, this is how you write a song, because it just doesn't work like that. But the course was really, really cool because it touched on so many aspects. Like the part I enjoyed the most was actually the music business modules. Everything was obviously like focused on as a songwriter, so learning about your rights, learning about how you would go about distributing, or if you want to just be a writer, if you want to be a writing artist, and all this stuff. But like the business side of how you basically leave school and make it a job. So that was the part that I found really interesting. But then we also had all the modules on, as you say, theory, performance. We'd have still like singing lessons and music lessons. And it was just like the whole thing. But we'd have class as well where you sit down and like dissect lyrics. Like, I don't know, we'd have like an Eminem song to dissect and stuff like that, which was really fun, and like learning all different like, I don't know, rhyme schemes or like quirky things that you can throw in. So it was like pretty packed. And then obviously, so first year is more just like learning bits of everything, and then you're going through to the end, and then by the end it's like you're working on big projects. So like my final project was a full EP and like a kind of clothing line to go along with it. So the concept was to have like an item of clothing to like represent each song or whatever. So that was fun. And obviously like writing my dissertation, I did that on just like the theory surrounding creativity as an idea and different people's beliefs on how someone becomes creative, and whether that's like a psychological thing or what happens in the brain, or people have like spiritual beliefs on creativity and stuff like that. So that was quite cool to delve into as well. All sorts.
That's very interesting. So as a child, were you quite musically inclined?
Yeah. So before I went to uni, so like when we studied theory and stuff in uni, it was actually kind of basic, but I'd like grown up doing classes just in that, taking exams in that privately. Like I did my grade 8 guitar.
Really?
Acoustic.
Like acoustic classical?
Not classical. No, classical's different because you read the music very differently. I did the much easier version.
I didn't know this.
So classical guitarists will read music as in like piano music, whereas acoustic guitarists would read tab, which is kind of in numbers rather than...
I had guitar lessons growing up, and I begged I want electric guitar lessons, I want rock lessons. My dad was like, no, you're going to do classical lessons.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I learned to but
so
then I can do the tabs as well.
It's like the easier version, right?
But
obviously, even though tab's easy to read, once you're going up it's like the harder stuff to play. But so I did that, and obviously like the singing stuff, I was always so into it. I think I played my first pub gig when I was probably like 12,
No way.
Yeah. So
what did you do? Sing, sorry.
Like my own songs. Yeah.
What?
I know. And I was shit at the time as well, right? So I couldn't really play guitar very well. Every song I played sounded the same. I just sat there and just chilled. And then it was so cute. I obviously wasn't getting paid, but they did a roundup, and I remember I got £70, and I was like, I've got £70. So that was cute.
Yeah, but like you're a child and you're 12 and you're doing that, like the balls to like do a...
Yeah.
I'd never have done that like 12 years old. I'd have been too neurotic.
But then I grew up, like when I was really young, I did like theatre, just like amateur stuff. But like, so I was really into being on stage and stuff from when I was quite small, So
your creative process when it comes to writing songs.
Yes.
How do you even do that? Because I find it so interesting to just find out everyone's creative process when it comes to just creating things, because I find it very difficult to just create things from thin air.
I know, right? So I mean, I've written like hundreds, right? But I will still have moments when I'm sitting down, I'm like, right, I haven't written a song in weeks. I need to sit down, I need to do one. I'm like, how? Like, it still loses my brain. You can't, for me, it's something that you can't force. But then people who obviously are professional songwriters will say, well, we have to go, it's our day job. We have to be able to walk into a writing room and write on demand. Which, I mean, I can do, but I won't get anything like profound out of it. The process is always so different. It generally will have to start with me having something I want to say. I know that sounds stupid, but like if I just sit down, I'm like, right, I'm going to write a song. I'm like, okay, what do I want to talk about? I'll end up writing something just like shitty because, you know, I've got nothing to say. Like, who even cares? Like, and that's why I think the best songs or the most powerful songs always come from people who are like in pain, because you have so much to talk about or like so much to express when you're feeling really like intense emotions. Whereas writing like happy songs is like really hard for it not to just be like meaningless. But yeah, no, so I'll sit down. I mean, it's different every time. Sometimes I'll just like, I always kind of, when I think to myself, I always kind of think in rhymes and in like lyrics. So I'm always like jotting stuff down. So often I'll just like have a few lines I'll write down. I'm like, oh, okay, that's actually something. And then I'll sit down, I'll sit at the piano, grab a guitar, whatever. And then just let some melodies come. Or I don't know, other times I'll just start at the piano, play around some chords. And then, I don't know, it really does vary, which I know is a really annoying answer because there's not like a, I don't know. I mean, for someone who was like, wanted to be a songwriter, wanted to get started, and they were like, okay, where do I start? I'd probably say, sit down, think about what you want to say, think of a story, think about what are you trying to tell a listener. Start with a chorus, write the chorus first. That's not actually how I work, but I think for someone who's like starting out, it's a really good thing because that's the bit where you're going to get your punch. And then the verses are like where you're going to like tell the actual story. But the chorus is like, what do you actually want to say? What's the point? So start there, then go back and like think about the details. I love writing and putting in really like specific details, even down to like a time or, you know, what someone was wearing. I don't know. If you get something really specific in, then your brain starts working, you start actually telling a story, then it will start flowing.
The way that you just broke that down then, so the chorus is what you want to say, and then the verses are, I mean, that might be quite like simple for some people, but I'm just sat here like, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's a really, and then that can just be the basic building blocks.
Yeah.
And then you go on like that sort of format.
Yeah. Or even taking it one step further, start with the title. Think, okay, what's this going to be called? And then your chorus will springboard off of that, and then the rest of the story can then like intertwine.
I find it really difficult to title things, even when it comes to like titling these podcast episodes, because you have to sum up so much in one. I mean, with YouTube it's very different obviously because it has well, is it that different? It's a kind of similar format, isn't it? You know, I have to sum up something to draw people's attention. Clickbait. Well, book titles have to do the same thing. I guess like songs and song titles have to do the same thing. So it's all the same format really, isn't it? But I find that very difficult to summarize in a way that's going to be eye-catching. Yeah. That's going to get people's attention. That's the eternal struggle, I think, for
that's
like
the thing.
Everyone.
Yeah, and you also don't want it to be something that people have seen 1,000 times.
Well, I was going to ask actually, when it comes to like thinking in rhymes, obviously there's only a finite ways like groups of words can rhyme. Do you find like sometimes, has it ever happened where like you thought of some rhymes, but then you've actually like already done that
all
previously?
The time.
Yeah.
All the time. Or I'll be like listening to the radio and I'm like, really, have you just done that? You know, there's like, freaking, it really annoys me. So like, you know, when people like, lying in my bed, can't get you out of my head. That is something that grates on me. And I still hear it to this day in like mainstream artists. I'm like, really? Okay.
Yeah, like sometimes, you know, if I'm at the gym and then they've got like the kind of mainstream pop playing or whatever, you can almost predict. Yeah. You can predict what the next lines are going to be. So then it just feels like, oh, you've heard that before, even if it's your first time hearing it. Which is smart in itself
because that's a way of getting it ingrained. I guess they do it for a purpose, you know. They want people to be straight away like, oh, that's catchy. Whereas songs that make you think a bit more, because you're like, oh, that was clever, they're like usually less of like a catchy thing. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely ways to write rhyme that isn't just your standard, you know. I'm trying to think of an example when you can like do a half rhyme. So like a word might rhyme with like just the first half of the next bit. Like, this is going to be really, really bad. So I'm just like off the cuff.
No pressure at all.
But say it's like, I don't want to cry because I don't want to break the silence. Yeah. You've rhymed cry and silence, which don't technically rhyme, but it's like a half rhyme. So it's a bit different, you know?
Yeah, this reminds me of like that chat that Eminem did where he was talking about orange and how things don't rhyme with it, but actually you can rhyme things like door hinge, and if you change the pronunciation of a word, you can rhyme a lot of stuff with orange.
That's it.
Like, he's very good in that regard because I mean, I like rap.
Yeah, Eminem's amazing.
Thank you. I feel like enough people don't appreciate just like his lyrical aptitude, I want to say. Yeah. Like his linguistics, he's really, if you look at like some of the, what was that song that he did? What was that song that he went away and everyone was mugging him off, and then he came back with that like 6-minute long song?
Is it the one where like the video where he was like flying?
Maybe Kamikaze. I'm thinking like if you look at the lyrics of that, it's like really that's kind of like straight from him.
I don't know. I was having this conversation recently. I don't know how anyone can say that he's not like actually a genius.
Yeah, he's very talented.
Very smart. Like so smart.
Yeah.
And it always feels real, doesn't it? When you listen to his music, it always feels like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like it's coming from somewhere. Because I imagine, you know, with words only being able to rhyme in like certain ways or however many times, it must be quite difficult to be original if you want to be original. Because if you want to go down the pop route, there's a lot of pop that is original, and then there's a lot of stuff that's okay, this has been produced because it's catchy, because like it's gonna sell, which I mean, that's fine if you want to do that. Then if you want to go down like the other route of being original, I imagine that must be quite difficult. Because do you ever feel like, oh, hasn't most things been done?
Yeah, I think whenever people speak to me about songwriting, I always say the main goal is to tell a story that's been told a million times, but in a way that's never been told before.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. If I'm writing a song and I'm like, this has been said before, I'll scrap it, I won't even finish it. So yeah, it's just finding new ways to, I guess, and like when I'm doing something like that, and it's like maybe a generic story, maybe doing like a heartbreak thing, I'm like, okay, well, let's think about where that person's sitting. What are they literally in the middle of doing when they're about to have this like breakdown, and then start from there. And then that just builds a story that's like not necessarily been said before.
Yeah, because it's totally fine to take an idea that, because, you know, most ideas aren't original. Even in storytelling, you have like the hero's journey or like the hero with 1,000 faces, whatever. They follow mostly the same format. Like this book called Eragon that came out when I was a teenager. It's about this, Kes Motion knows. It's about this boy and he's a dragon rider. And it's basically, it's Star Wars, but with dragons.
Okay.
You know? But Christopher Paolini, he was 15 when he wrote Eragon. I couldn't have done, he was 15.
Wow.
I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done shit. It doesn't matter if it's a bit contrived, because I feel that it doesn't really matter if the ideas are the same, as long as like the execution is different and is like personalized and subjective to you.
Well, yeah, you still have to string sentences together.
I know.
So, I mean, you write. What's your situation?
Well, I've decided. I've decided recently that I'm just gonna rewrite Battle Royale, but make it British.
That sounds like a great idea.
Well, I want to go down the route of exploring, because a lot of the battle royale is in the novel and the Japanese film, which, you know, kind of like Hunger Games was similar. Like they're both dystopias, but with different sort of not end goals but beginning goals in mind. They're both dystopias but in different ways. And I want to try and explore what it would be like if society wasn't dystopian but just like hyper capitalist, hyper corporate. Like it's a reality TV show, like the ultimate reality TV show in which you sign up and you kill people and there's a winner. You know, I want to explore that side of things and maybe say a little bit about, well, society, influencer culture, how we dehumanize reality TV stars to the point that they are seen as kind of like disposable. Because, you know, like you got like this crop of Love Island stars and then next year you'll have another crop and they're all very interchangeable. You know, so I've kind of angling towards that, because I found out, I figured this out about myself, that I'll watch a bit of media and I'll really like it to the point of, oh, I should have done this. You know, like I have this weird love-hate relationship with Twilight because it's awful. Yet I do think, oh, I should have written it. Like, and I would have done it better. So now I'm just, instead of, and then I'll be like, okay, well, I need to brainstorm what my next big idea is going to be. And then I'll just notice like, oh, no, I'm literally rewriting Twilight. But instead of shying away from it, I'm going to lean into it.
Yeah.
Just be like, okay, well, I'll write my own version of Battle Royale and just see what happens.
Well, you know what as well? There's this theory that with creativity in general, it's almost like a tap that's not been used in like years. And if you imagine if you first turn it on, all the water that's going to come out is going to be like rusty and gross.
Like shitty.
Yeah, so you need to get all that out before you're going to get all the clean stuff. So just write. This is my thing to people. I'm like, just write, because if it's bad, then you need to get that out of the way anyway.
I like almost feel paralyzed by like confidence issues when it comes to writing and creativity in that regard. In a way that like I've not figured out why I feel like this way to a certain extent. Like I feel sometimes when I write, I feel embarrassed by myself, and I'm not showing it to anyone. I'm just sitting there like by myself, and I'm like, this is just embarrassing, and you're pathetic. What are you doing? And I can't get over that. And yet there's this other side of me where I come here and I do this, and I don't give a shit. Like, you know, it's weird, and I don't know how to manage that.
What is it that you feel is embarrassing? Is it like the fact that you're doing it at all, or is it what you're actually producing?
Producing.
Okay.
So I'll write something and be like, what is this? Is drivel. What are you doing?
I guess just tell yourself, I guess it's kind of like I can't remember what the thing is, but you know, they say musicians have to play shitty gigs for a certain amount of hours before they can like make it.
Yeah.
There's that sort of theory. Maybe just tell yourself you're doing that, like you're getting all the stuff out that you're not feeling proud of because you have to do that as part of the process before you start writing what you're proud of.
Yeah, the amount of times I've told myself that.
It doesn't work.
No, it's really difficult. And then like the way I go about writing, I suppose, with this Battle Royale ripoff, I am actually planning it. Like I'm writing an outline, and I wouldn't do that before because I'd get so like.
Are you writing it in chronological order? Like, are you writing it from beginning to end?
At the moment, I'm just planning it out, and I'm just like adding things to my plan when I sort of think of them. And when it comes to the actual writing, I don't know. I might.
Well,
you know.
yeah. I mean, I wrote a novel, and
Really?
just throwing that out there.
What about?
It's like a YA.
Well,
Coming of age
you've
sort
seen
of.
my channel, you know I love that stuff.
I'll send you a copy. No, I'm actually still in editing stages. There was a bit of a tangent. There was an agency that read the full manuscript. They were like, really like it. Here's some like critiques. Come back to us when you've like worked on it a bit more. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. But the point I was going to make was when I was writing it, I did what you did. I sort of planned out the story, and then on any given day, I was like, okay, well, what do I feel in the mood to write today? Do I want to write like a really tense, edgy scene? Do I want to write something lighthearted and funny? Because then you're in the mood for it. And then I would literally just pick and choose. And I didn't write any of it in order. I probably started in the middle and then wrote the end. Then, you know, so you pick and choose based on what you're feeling. So you're never sitting down like, oh, I have to write today, because you're just doing what you feel in the mood for. And so I don't know, that might help if you're not, because then you're not constricted as well to like, oh, I hated what I wrote last time and now I've got to pick up from that. You're like dipping in and out.
Oh, I can't believe that you wrote a book. Well done. Like, good on you.
Thanks.
How many words did it come out to?
At the minute it's at 75,000.
Yeah,
So that's standard YA.
Yeah, that's a good amount. It's hefty.
Yeah, it's enough. It was 60, and then I've recently added in the extra meat that it needed. And now, as I say, I'm reading through, so some might get like chopped out again. But
Would you care to do a one-sentence summary? Just like maybe the very, very basics. Like, it's about a vampire. That's it.
Okay, so
Or what genre?
so
Besides Young A, obviously. Young A. What? Who's that? Like some sort of rapper? Like
Young A.
SoundCloud rapper. That's me, Young A. What? I just found my SoundCloud rapper
love
name.
that.
Easy.
You need to like copyright that now. Someone's gonna take it. I guess in a sentence, it's about a girl who grew up in like a super privileged area, but was like super unhappy at home, toxic stuff going on, really sheltered life. Is like, I need to leave this shit. So she kind of like enters a world that's like, she gets introduced to drugs and like all this stuff and these people that are a bit edgy. And then she ends up falling in love with someone who is not at all who she would have expected to have fallen in love with. And then she ends up having to live this like double life.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's where I'm leaving that.
Especially the drugs and edginess. Have you ever seen Requiem for a Dream?
No, but why do I feel like I've heard of that? What is that?
Very because it's very famous. It was originally a novel that came out in the 70s, I think.
Oh.
And then they did a 2000 film. I think her name's Jennifer Connelly and Jared Leto.
Oh, okay.
They were one of the Wyan brothers. You know the Wyan brothers who did or are they the Wayne brothers? Scary Movie?
Oh, right.
Come on. Like, do you not see Scary Movie 1 and 2? Like, you know, there were two like brothers in it. There was one who was the jock, and then there was the one who was the stoner, and the stoner was the funny one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's in it as well, and it's about it's about the American dream at surface level, but then it's also about addiction. The most obvious addiction in it is they're addicted to heroin, and one of them, this older lady, she's addicted to like diet pills, which is just basically amphetamines. But on a deeper level, it's about the addiction to lots of things, like the want for celebrity, the want for family connectivity, but like to an unhealthy degree that actually destroys you. Nice. It's very it's very tragic, but the film's very artistic.
I just finished reading The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Oh, how'd you find it?
I really loved it a lot. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. There was one chapter that I was like, I literally wanted to pull my eyes out. It was like really boring. I don't know why, just randomly in the middle. But the rest I really enjoyed. But yeah, that's kind of that thing as well about going down paths and getting addicted to like just like bad lifestyles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Did you like Skins?
No, I never really got into it. I didn't dislike it, but I just wasn't the thing that I got into.
That's funny because I got into it like a few years ago. Because
Oh,
I never watched it when it came out because I couldn't be I don't know,
Yeah.
probably thought I was better than it or something. I have a weird superiority complex with like a lot of things. It's very like, yeah, but I watched it like a few years ago and I was like, oh, this is actually good. This was my teenage years growing up in Britain, just partying and doing like those mad drugs and being ridiculous, you know? So I kind of feel like a lot of stuff I would write about would be about that, but then
I think borrowing for your real life experiences is the easiest way to do anything.
do you find it like, not easy is not the right word, but you must be capable to some extent of bearing your soul in that way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, there's things that I put in the book that are like really personal, but then I've completely like redressed it. So if you knew me, you wouldn't think, oh, that's about that. But to me, it's like really representative of something that I went through, but I've just like changed it up, you know? So yeah, I think that's the easiest way, because that's how you can draw out the emotion, because you know how that actually felt.
I've considered doing that. I've considered writing like a book about someone being sober, being in recovery, but not being able to deal with like these various pressures and then relapsing, because it's kind of just like, I don't know, I feel like I want to write the feelings out.
Yeah.
I have a hard time, like, I can openly talk about mental health and stuff, but I have a hard time being like, oh, I felt like really sad, and I find it difficult to talk in that way, and I always blame it on just, well, I'm British and we're not. So I do singing lessons, and sometimes like my singing teacher, he's amazing. He's like Bulgarian and he's Guildhall freshly trained, and he's so like he grabs life. But sometimes, you know, if we're doing a song, he'll do the dissecting the lyrics, and he'll be like, I need you to act these lyrics out, just say them, but like mean it. And I'm like, I can't do that because I'm too British. I can't, I'm not American. I can't be like, oh, and then I was really sad. I can't do, like, there's a bit of a block, and I blame it on being British, but we're both British, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I blame all my shortcomings on, oh, I'm British and stiff upper lip, and I don't have emotions. Just drown your sorrows in fucking cocaine. But I can talk openly about it, but it's always a joke.
Right.
You know,
but then if you're
I don't know
writing...
how to do it like sincerely. That's the word.
But writing in it as a different character might allow you to do that, because you're not being you know?
Yeah.
And no one would necessarily read it and be like, oh shit, that's what she went through. Because you don't think that, right? When you read, you don't think, oh, the author must have done that really weird thing or whatever.
Only if it's like GCSE English lit and they're like, the blue curtains represent the author's depression.
Yeah.
Why does every like English teacher say that specifically?
Why?
The curtains are blue because they represent... Why? We're reading The Great Gatsby. What are you talking about? True story.
Yeah.
But there's another interest you have that I want to know more about, because I like learning things. I'm very open-minded. Might be an Aquarian trait of mine.
Yeah.
Astrology.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk about that.
It's one of those things I always drop into conversations, and I think it makes it sound like I'm this like crazy person that's like lives my life by it, which isn't the case, but it does really fascinate me. Mainly because it's got to the point I was saying to you earlier that I've noticed so many patterns in people, and I understand people in such a way now that it's almost like I can't explain it away. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, if every single person that I've met of this sign has made me feel really uncomfortable, I'm just going to now go ahead and just assume that I don't vibe with that sign.
Which sign is it?
Cancer.
Air 'em out. Air 'em out. Don't people have like problems with Scorpios or something?
Yeah, but this is the thing though, because I genuinely think that, and when I talk about astrology, I'm not talking about go read your horoscope and that's going to be your future for the next
Mystic
few days.
Meg in the sun.
Yeah, that's like not the vibe. But for me, it's like I really, and I know this makes me sound like, you know, but I really do vibe on people's energies.
Yeah.
And I really do just see patterns in the energies I get. Like I can always, not always, I'm not going to say that, but I can so often be like, oh, I know that you're going to be this sign, because I don't know. It's not even because I'm like, oh, because you sat like this and said this. It's like, oh, because I felt comfortable, or I felt really on edge, even though you didn't do anything wrong, you know? And that's just a thing that I've noticed. So yeah, now when I meet someone, I'm always like, what sign are you? Because then I'll be able to like excuse certain things in their behaviour because I'll be expecting it.
Do you reckon, though, it might be kind of like how words can only form so many finite patterns? Maybe there's just like only so many finite templates for people's personalities. And a lot of people, I think, are very just, they fall into templates of these personalities quite easily, maybe like environmental factors, maybe like some genetics.
Yeah.
But what did you say once, Kez? Like, no new people, only new faces.
Yeah, no,
And it
people,
like we were just being depressing about it. No new people, just new faces.
I've met the same person many times.
I feel like
Yeah.
I go outside and everyone just looks the same.
Yeah, me too.
Not in a, oh, I don't see colour kind of like stupid way. I just mean like every face just looks familiar now. Because
Yeah.
I've just seen too many people. I don't know.
Yeah, that's like a whole other conversation. But yeah, but for me, I think on a surface level that's quite true. But I think people, again, this is, but people are layered, right?
Yeah.
So you get, and this is the thing in astrology. So people talk about their star signs or their sun signs, and that's like what most people know about themselves. And everyone's like, what? So there's just 12 personality types, and if you're born in this same period, then everyone's gonna be the same. And it's like, no, because actually you got your sun sign, which is kind of like who you are on a day to day and like how you live your life or whatever. Then you've got your moon sign, which is more reflective of who you actually are inside on an emotional level and the sort of person you probably only show to like your close family or who you are when you're on your own or when you're in your feels. And you've also got your rising sign, which is like, so they're like the big three. And your rising sign's kind of like who you try and present to be outwardly.
Okay.
Or it's kind of like people's first impression of you before they know who you are. And when you like layer those three things together, you have a very specific idea of a person. Because that's three very different parts of your personality. So it's not like there's just this like 12 types of people, 12 signs, off you go. But it's like when you actually like look into it, it's like, oh, okay, even though you present yourself to be, you know, what we were saying earlier, like you're this super confident person, you do all this stuff on camera, but you grew up being like super shy and feeling out of place. And like when we were discussing what your chart was before, I was like, oh, I already knew that was going to be the case. I was actually going to bring it up and ask you if that was how things were for you. Which is just like weird.
Yeah, can we get into like that chart? Because I gave Ellie some private details. Yes, very privileged like that.
I know.
And you worked out my charts.
Yeah.
I mean, I already knew that I was an Aquarius.
Yeah.
And the most Aquarius ever, even if I don't technically, well, whatever.
Yeah.
So what's my things?
Yeah. So have you ever looked at your chart at all, like beyond just that you're an Aquarius?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because that was really interesting. Because when you said that to me originally, you was like, yeah, I'm the most Aquarius. So that's why I wondered if you'd already seen your chart, because you've got so much Aquarius in your chart. So much. And your chart isn't just sun, moon and rising. Like you've got every planet is in a different placement, and every planet kind of rules something. So like Mercury is like communication, or Mars is like action and conflict, and Venus is like love and emotions, and you know, etc. And you've got so much Aquarius. I'm not going to pretend that I've memorized your whole chart. But I know that your sun and moon are both in Aquarius, and I think your Mercury as well, which are like 3 of the 4 main ones. But what was also really interesting is because I always play this really sad game with myself, and I'm always like trying to guess what people's signs are.
Yeah.
And I kind of like narrowed you down to a Libra, right? I knew it was going to be an air sign. Just like 100% knew it. But I just didn't go down the Aquarius route. I got Libra. But your rising sign is Libra. And your rising sign is the one that you kind of like try and portray yourself as.
So what does Libra portray themselves as?
So let's have a little second. I'm going to grab my notes that I had
Sure.
pre-prepared.
Well, this will be fun though. I'm really intrigued.
If we're talking about having your rising as a Libra, as an Aquarius, that usually represents someone who's bright and inspired, which are the 2 words that I wrote down.
Bright and inspired.
Which I know is very just like, okay, what does that even mean? But they usually have a point of view that they try and put out, which will be perceived like kind of weird or like unconventional. But it's like they enjoy doing that. Like they kind of want a reaction out of people. It's going to be like,
yeah, just like saying mad things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Okay.
Every conversation, maybe. I do say mad, like on purpose as well. I will say like mad things
because you want to see what people say back and like.
I kind of view it as like, well, I mean, it depends. If it's like an unconventional opinion, then well, I want to see like what people think of it. If it's sometimes I'll be very honest about like my feelings. Like if I'm in a really bad mood, I will just say I'm in the worst fucking mood ever and I hate everyone. I don't mean it to like my mates. Of course, I don't like actually hate anyone, but I just see that as I'm just going to be honest, because I don't. It's weird because the whole like British stiff upper lip thing. I've overcome a lot of that in that I don't pretend that I'm okay when I'm not, and I don't be passive aggressive to people. I'll straight up be like, I'm in a bad mood. Maybe no one talked to me for an hour, and I'll be like hyper and manic in the next. Maybe that's bad. I'm in like extreme mood swings, but
So
yeah.
the mood swings will come into we'll come to that. But yeah, with your Libra thing as well, I've also put can easily be bored and distracted.
Yeah, I kind of think I should get tested for ADHD.
Oh, same.
Right?
Yeah, I'll sit and read a book and I can only read like 2 pages at a time because I'm like, whoop.
Or like women don't get, like we're probably both of that generation where, you know, like boys, if they're hyperactive, then maybe they'll be taken for ADHD testing. But like women, I mean, it wasn't even known until maybe like, I don't want to say put a time frame on it, but until recently, it was thought that autism was something that only affected boys, you know? So
Because girls show different symptoms, right? Like,
yeah, and also like if you're a woman and you go to the doctors, like a lot of time you're not going to be taken seriously.
yeah, because
You
it's
know.
hormones or like.
Oh, it's just hormones, or you're just crazy, or whatever. And then the amount of times that I've seen in the Metro, the paragon of like news journalism that I read, I've seen like loads of articles where women have gone to the doctors consistently, and then like a year later, it's actually you do have like a tumor,
Yeah,
or whatever.
I know, and
mad.
it's been awful, and really, really awful things have happened.
Right, how did we get onto this? Distracted, right?
Distracted. Here
Yeah.
we go. Whoops. Yeah. So I mean, with your, I'm just gonna like dissect you to yourself, right? And you
I
can
love
tell
it.
me how much you feel like you can
I'm
relate.
a little bit of a narcissist. I like talking about me.
So Sun in Aquarius, I have a lot of really close Aquarian people in my life. So a lot of this I just kind of just like, okay, well, this is just patterns that I see in people. There's usually like quite a strong desire for freedom and not wanting to be tied down, wanting to be able to float around. If anything's going to keep you in one place for too long, that's going to make you start to like almost panic a little bit because you're like, well, what about when I want to do something else? Like, then what do I do? Yeah, but to be able to move and flow, need for intellectual stimulation. So if you're doing something for a long time, you're like, this is killing my brain, like in a job or whatever.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to deal with that for very long. You're like, I need to be learning new things. I need to be using my like abilities. Pioneering and intellectual.
Pioneer now.
Like, you want to come up with like new ideas. You don't just want to like do the same shit.
Oh yeah, I'm early 20s. I mean, I kind of think I was just copying Russell Brand, but I went through this phase of we're going to have a revolution and I should lead it and I should be
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that's like very Aquarian as well, is like almost being like a bit of a justice or like social warrior and really like believing in like equality and standing up for people. And like a lot of Aquarians I know like really love animals and want to donate to animal charities or like.
Yeah, that's me all over. Like, I'd like to do some charity stuff next year, like with the sole purpose of animal charity and obviously being vegan. And
This
I
is
think
so
animals should
Aquarian.
have equal rights as humans and be seen as sentient. And you know,
Yeah.
like,
No, you're just such
it
an
should just be
Aquarius.
illegal to like be nasty to them in every way, and we shouldn't have like anyone eating meat. Like, I have this really like that side of me is actually, and I don't share it with the internet because I know it's extreme and I know people don't vibe with it. Like that's, I don't think it's extreme to be like I just don't want to murder anything.
No, I'm exactly
I
the
don't
same.
think it's extreme. I think the opposite is extreme. But
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I would not be able to see it as like a dead body.
well, exactly, yeah,
To
yeah,
put
yeah.
it, you know, brutally. Yeah, and I've also put can be kind of stubborn.
What do you reckon, Kesmotion? Can I be stubborn?
Next to me, you're the most stubborn person I know.
Next to Kesmotion himself, I'm the most stubbornest person he knows.
There you go.
Yeah, love that. Yeah. Well, you're just nodding. Me and maybe your mum. She's going to listen to this. sorry, Kesmotion's mum. Love you.
But yeah, so you are definitely a very Aquarius. But then it's like the moon in Aquarius that makes you, what I was saying about growing up, often very feeling like shy and like a bit of an outcast, like on the outside looking in a lot of the time, finding it hard to tap into like feeling comfortable around friends or.
Yeah, massively. When I was, this is a shock surprise to everyone. When I was a little kid, I was so shy I just wouldn't really talk to people. Like, because I was always, I don't know, I'd always look at others. I still do look at people sometimes and be like, God, how do I said this in therapy once, how do I human? Like, it was a verb. My therapist was like, let's dive into that. You know, I do look at people sometimes, but now it's like, because I'm older and I have confidence, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to do whatever and be myself. But as
Yeah.
a little kid, you tend to not have that kind of like security in yourself.
Yeah.
So I would look at like groups of other kids and be like, how do I do anything? And I was really shy to the point that I wouldn't ask people if I could like play with them and join in with games, because I'd fear rejection. So I just wouldn't bother in the first place,
Okay.
which was a very bad habit to like have and build up. And then
Yeah.
I don't know, I think when I became a teenager and got hormones, then it all switched and I just became really angry and like
Yeah. I mean, the thing that it can do is with like Moon and Aquarius people is you grow up with that thing and then you didn't really like that about yourself. You don't want to be that shy person anymore. So you build up these barriers and you try and like block off emotions like jealousy or anxiety or like things that you're going to see as kind of like ick emotions because you want to be able to be likable and be easy to be friends with. So you put up these barriers, but then you can actually end up seeming, not you particularly, but like
sure.
a bit like standoffish or a bit like guarded because you're like a bit too scared to let people in at that point because you just want to be like the happy one or the fun one just so you can like make friends. But then you did say but this is the thing. So that also, if you look at your Mercury being in Aquarius as well, that's like a communication thing. And so actually you are very like observational in like a general sense, but you can like pick up on people's feelings and have quite good conversations about it. So there's like the two parts of you, probably the part that you want to be able to talk, but then the part of you that's like you don't want to give too much away about like the shit stuff that you're feeling in like an open environment.
I'm just trying to digest this stuff. I'm good at listening to people and their problems, and I don't know, I do have a lot of self-awareness. I feel like it's arrogant to say that, but I know that about myself.
No,
I know that I have like a lot of self-awareness, so I know like I just know how to be in conversations with like friends. I know when to not draw the attention back to me or not, you know, I know like when someone needs you to fill a certain role, like if your friend is having drama or a problem or whatever and they just need someone to like vent to and talk to, and I'm good at like molding to that and being like what someone requires. With my close mates, I'm usually very honest about like when I'm having bad moods and the why of it. Like if I'm having, sometimes to a point that I think it's a tiny bit detrimental because I don't think people know exactly how to, because my honesty will be I just want to get really drunk right now and do loads of cocaine and like fuck my life up, and sometimes people don't know how to respond to that. A lot of my close, Kieran's laughing behind the camera, a lot of my close mates will just kind of be like, okay, talk to you in 10 minutes when you've perked up a bit. But for some people it's a bit like, because Kes Motion used to do this thing actually where he would try to fix things. So he'd be like, okay, well this is the solution, and sometimes you just need to vent, and then that would like wind me up because I'd be like, took you 3 years to learn. So I'd be like, why are you trying to fix my problems? Oh, I'm just gonna do drugs now. But that's like his personality type and stuff. What are you, Kes Motion? Capricorn.
Cool.
Yeah. But okay. I just find that I can be...
Can't help it.
I can be honest in a way that sometimes, like, for some people, it's a bit like, oh my God, what do I say to this?
Yeah.
You know? Because a lot of people, I don't know. What else is there on this?
I mean, I feel like we covered so much. Oh, I've put not loud in volume, but has a subtle way of stirring others up.
What's that mean?
So... when you're around people, you might not be like the loudest person in the room, but you've got your own way of like riling everyone up and getting people excited and getting people like to do what you want to do, basically.
I feel like in most of my 20s, I usually was the loudest person in the room, but that's because I would be drunk or on drugs. And I loved being drunk and on drugs. I loved it. I'd let people know. I'd be on MD just at pubs, like, could I stroke your this? What? Like what? No. Once like in. I remember this at my birthday party in Camden. I turned up like 2 hours late to like the top room of this like bar that we'd booked with like loads of people there, and I was Hawley, and I was 2 hours late because I'd just been like doing loads of MDMA. And I turned up and some girl was wearing like the most amazing top, and I was like, look, I'm on a lot of drugs right now, can I please just stroke your top? She was really nice about it. She was like, yeah, there you go, happy birthday. So like I used to be like, during that period of my life, I was like the kind of walk into a room just be like, oh, I'm here now, the party started. But now I'm just more like, I don't need to do that, you know?
Yeah. You know, that's really weird because it's not like a typical trait, but a lot of Aquarians that I know do have like issues with drinking or drugs. Like they have had to stop doing it because they will take it too far. So I don't know why. That's just a pattern that I've seen.
So when you were saying that stuff in the beginning about Mercury's communication, Venus's love?
Yeah, and like...
how do the planets have these sort of roles ascribed to them? Like, how did someone think of that in the first place? I always like to like try and go back as far as possible. Like, oh, but how is a bowl a bowl? Like, who first decided that? I mean, it was just noises and then associations and blah blah. I know that, but I like to take things back. Like, who? Well, because that's kind of like I'm talking to myself here. Just, well, that's like, you know, Mars, the god of war, and Roman and mythology and stuff. Is that where like this stuff comes from?
Yeah. So it goes back, I guess, to the days when people really were guided by the sky, right? And I think even in a lot of religions, like even though zodiacs and whatever are like frowned upon, but I think even like in the Bible it says like the way of the world to be presented in the sky. No, that's not the quote, but it says about like seeing things in the stars and whatever. So it's in a lot of traditions or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. When you go back to, is it like Romans? No, even before that, right? Like I don't know. But they talk about like the gods of the different planets and...
Yeah, Romans took like a lot of mythology from ancient Greece.
From the Greeks,
and then before Greece, I don't know, I think the oldest ancient group of people, well, religion anyway, like Mesopotamians, something like that. I know about that stuff because there's reptilians in it, but, you know.
Maybe they are the reason for it. Maybe they knew. They spread the awareness, and that's...
Because I did see some... Because, I mean, I've looked into this kind of stuff, like, briefly before, just because I have an active interest in finding out as much as possible about everything ever. And there is a part of me that's like, well, you know, these celestial bodies are so huge. Gravity must be doing some stuff to us. Would that mean that gravity is doing some stuff to our brains? Like, I just don't... But I don't know enough to like just talk about this kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I am really into the moon.
just generally.
Just as a thing, I've got a moon tattoo and everything. Like, but yeah, I mean, when you think about the fact that the moon and the phases literally control the tides of the sea and like the female anatomy in lots of ways, it's like if you think, I don't know, this might be a weird way of looking at it, but if it can control the ocean, we're 70% water. So... do the maths, right?
Well, there is something about the moon being linked to female anatomy, and I don't know how or why, but I've heard that before.
I don't know why either. It's something to do with like the reproductive system, isn't it? But
and also, you know, when there's a full moon, everyone acts mental.
I can't sleep on a full moon.
Well, like, but people act crazy. They go out and get really drunk. Like, this is a known fact. Like, my best mate who works in hospitality and a few friends, and it's just something that you'd say. And, like, the police will say it as well. It's a saying amongst the police. Like,
they make the most arrests, and there's most, like, suicides and stuff on a full moon, and it's really crazy.
Like, mad things happening. It's funny, though, that you love the moon, because I kind of hate it.
Do you?
Yeah, but that's because I'm just weird.
In what way?
I don't like how big and close it is to us. I don't
it
trust
unnerves
it.
you?
Yeah, what if it just fell out of the sky one day and knocked us out of orbit, and then we're just falling through forever into nothingness, into the abyss? Don't like it, don't rate it. So, like, what if it just decided to get closer one day? What are we going to do? Blow it up?
Dude, it's like 400,000 kilometres away.
400,000 kilometres, that's not enough. I could run that. Like, you what? It's just too... I don't like the universe much. I'm not keen on...
Okay.
Because I always get thoughts of like, you know, reality could... Because I read mad stuff about the universe that unnerves me. Like, something could happen right now and existence would just... Like, if... Like, there's something I read recently that if some galaxy somewhere did some mad shit, we could... I shouldn't read about this stuff, but I do.
No, I'm the same though. And it's like, everything's always expanding. But it's like, into what? How do we know? How do we know it's not something worse that we're expanding into? Like... it's going to suck us up.
Exactly. It's mad. Let's not give our viewers existential dread, though.
Yeah, sorry for the anxiety that's probably induced.
So, to sum up everything, moon good for you, moon bad for me. And I am the most Aquarian that has ever fucking aquaried.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. You've proved astrology. You cracked it.
I've proved an entire theory. I like that about myself. I'm going to go down the history books for that one.
Well done.
But that is all for this episode. Socials. Do you have any socials that people can follow you on? Instagram?
Yeah. At Ellie Grace Music everywhere. So
amazing.
Not everywhere on the end of the handle. Just saying I'm everywhere on that.
Infinite. Spotify. You on Spotify as well?
Yeah. Ellie Grace. You'll see me with the red hair doing my thing.
Amazing. Check out her stuff. Thank you so much for being here
and
enlightening us. It has been a lovely one. That is all from me. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Spotify and iTunes. And I'll see you guys next time.
Hey, bye.